What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is James from Cop Logic, and it's time to make like Richard Hughes and forget all about the signings for the time being, just for a little bit, because it is the return of Premier League football. So it's time for our very first match preview of the season. Liverpool are away at Portman Road to Ipswich Town, newly promoted, which is becoming more and more common now for Liverpool in opening game days because of the way the system works. But we're not here to talk about the system. It's a 12:30 kickoff, Jurgen Klopp's favourite time. So let's dive into the match preview. Now, if you weren't here last season, what I always like to do is start these videos off with a few match facts before we dive into a team selection and then a score prediction towards the end. So to kick us off, a bit of an interesting stat here. Obviously, Ipswich are newly promoted, so it's been a while since Liverpool and Ipswich have faced off, especially in the Premier League, but even just in general. And Ipswich's last Premier League game was in May 2002 against Liverpool at Anfield this time, and they actually lost that game 5-0 and were subsequently relegated. It was the final game of the season, which is in stark contrast to the fact that this is the first game of the season and it's the opposite fixture, Liverpool away at Portman Road. Kind of interesting the way stuff works out like that, but I would certainly love another scoreline like that, that's for sure. Interestingly, Liverpool have never lost a Premier League game at Portman Road, and I expect that to continue in this game. Ultimately, Liverpool facing promoted relegation fodder, you'd expect us to be winning that game, certainly if we've got any ambition for this season. So our last visit to Portman Road was a 6-0 win in February 2002, and we have played more games at Portman Road without a loss than any other stadium in the Premier League. So that's a pretty promising stat as we head into this game. Speaking of promising stats, Liverpool are unbeaten in match day 1 in their last 11 seasons, and Salah still has that opening day goal record, currently sitting on 8, putting him level with Alan Shearer, Frank Lampard and Wayne Rooney. So, we need that Salah goal in this game because that puts him clear on his own at 9 goals, alone at the top. King of Egypt. We need that to happen. Let's talk about Ipswich just for a second here. Ipswich scored 92 goals in their last campaign last season. So while it is going to be the first time Kieran McKenna and Arne Slot meet, I expect intensity in this game. Ipswich weren't messing about last season in the Championship, and of course we are already seen in pre-season with Arne Slot that his football, whilst it's not as explosive as Jurgen Klopp's, we're certainly seeing goals, kill them with passes, all of that. So I'm expecting intensity from this game from both sides. The atmosphere as well, I think, is going to be a huge factor. Obviously, it's Ipswich's first game in the Premier League in a long time, so the fans are going to be super excited for that. They've got Liverpool in their first game, which again, it's a huge fixture for them. And obviously, it's at Portman Road, so the atmosphere is going to be all with Ipswich. It's going to be like a cauldron in there. These teams, I think when you play a newly promoted team, it's always bad to have to be their first game because the start of the season is when anything's possible, right? They don't really know what to expect. They've not played Premier League opposition in a while, so they're just going to be excited to play in the Premier League, so the fans are going to be well up for it. It's probably the hardest time to play one of these teams. You get them towards the end or the middle of the season, and often by that point they kind of know where they're going to fall in the Premier League table, so they'll either sit off or just the crowd will be more subdued. But this crowd is certainly going to be up for it. It's going to be a cauldron. It's not going to be easy. It's certainly going to be a challenge for Arne Slot to overcome, I think, mainly because of the atmosphere more than anything. Obviously, there is a huge gulf in class between the players, and we would still be expecting Liverpool to win this game, but there is a challenge to be had there for Arne Slot. Now, I normally do head-to-heads where I'll look at the last 5 head-to-heads, but there's really no points for this game because it's been so long since Liverpool have played Ipswich that we're talking about 2 completely different eras for both teams. I don't really think it's worth, that's not going to have really much of an impact on what could potentially happen in this game. So let's dive into team selection for now. So as always, we'll start with the goalkeeper. Obviously, I'm going Alisson Becker. It's not going to be anyone else. Don't need to talk about this too much. Alisson Becker starts. We'll do the fullbacks together. I'm obviously going Trent Alexander-Arnold, but I've also gone with Andrew Robertson as the left back. Now, that might seem like an obvious choice, but Tsimikas has certainly played more minutes in pre-season. There is a chance he goes to Tsimikas just because of those minutes in his legs, but Robbo did play that behind closed doors game after the Sevilla game, and I think it's probably going to be strongest foot forwards, and we'll go with Andrew Robertson, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Kostas Tsimikas here, is all I'm saying. Trent Alexander-Arnold on the other side, I think, is a given. For the centre-back partnerships, again, this is similar, but I think he will start Ibrahima Konate. Obviously, Virgil van Dijk starts, he captains the team. Now, I don't think he will start Jarell Quansah in partnership with him. Quansah did make a big mistake in the Sevilla game, which we were lucky to not see that be punished. That said, I have nothing against Kwanzaa, and I think this is a fine game for him to start. I think he'd absolutely be able to manage it. We've seen him manage bigger games, but Ibrahim Konate, again, he played that behind closed doors game. The only reason he hasn't had more minutes is because he was obviously busy at the Euros. Again, it's like you want to put your strongest foot forwards. We want to see more of this partnership as well. We want it to continue to flourish and develop. These are our strongest two centre-backs. Of course, this is our strongest back line right here altogether. And so I expect Ibrahim Konate to start despite his limited minutes. So midfield, I think it gets interesting here, and you can already see from where I've placed Ryan Gravenberch that I'm not going with the usual 4-3-3 that we would typically see from Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool. And whilst I'm certain Sky will probably display this lineup in a 4-3-3, I don't think this is what Arne Slot's going to play. Because as much as he likes to say he doesn't play a 4-2-3-1, he's definitely been playing that in pre-season. If you've watched any of the games, that's definitely what we've been playing. So whilst I think Sky are probably going to display us here in a 4-3-3 formation, that's not what we're going to play. So I'm just going to be serious about this and put this in the formation that I expect to see Liverpool in once the game kicks off. And he has been using that double pivot. Now, the interesting thing is who plays there, because we didn't secure the Zubomendi signing and he's alienated Wataru Endo. So whilst I would personally put Endo in here because I love him, you know, he did an amazing job for us last season, I don't think Arne Slot's going to do that. And we've already seen against Sevilla that he put Ryan Gravenberch in this position, in one of the holding positions. There's the Dutch connection there. And he did all right, but I have to say Sevilla weren't much of a threat, so I don't know how much of a stand-in that really has on Premier League opposition. I guess we'll find out in this game. At least it's Ipswich. I'm going to go Ryan Gravenberch and give him a chance to show us what he can do there. I also just think that is what Arne Slot will do. So Ryan Gravenberch in the right holding position, and of course that means he needs a partner. So I've gone with Alexis McAllister. This could be interchangeable. For example, he could put Dominic Szoboszlai here. We've seen him experiment with Szoboszlai in this position in pre-season as well. But I think he will go with Alexis McAllister just as a more senior option. This is assuming that he doesn't play with Wataru Endo, and I just don't think he will because of his comments that he's made about him already. And Alexis McAllister being the senior option, it will at least be someone that can help out Ryan Gravenberch, who's going to be fairly new to this position. Again, we've seen Alexis McAllister play as a holding midfielder for Jurgen Klopp last season, and he did a fine job. Whilst I do think that takes away from his best assets, it's probably the best we've got right now since Richard Hughes, shout out Richard Hughes, fumbled the bag on Martin Zubomendi. So this is the situation that we're in. This means we need the number 10 because we're in a new formation. So in the 10 role, I'm going Dominic Szoboszlai. I think that's probably our strongest option there. There's an argument for Harvey Elliott, who also had a great pre-season, but I'm mainly basing this off the lineup for the Sevilla game. That's normally a good indication of where the manager's going to go for the first game of the season. And of course, Dominic Szoboszlai featured in that game, so I'm going to go Dominic Szoboszlai. And then in terms of the front three, I'm going Mohamed Salah on that right wing. I say a front three, right, but if this is a 4-2-3-1, then, you know, this is actually part of that attacking three there with a lone striker. Anyway, I'm going Mo Salah on the right wing because we literally don't have anyone else. Again, shout out Richard Hughes there. Didn't bother to bring in any rotation options for Mo Salah, so it's definitely Mo Salah, it's only Mo Salah, and it's always going to be Mo Salah. Also, he does need that goal, by the way, and I definitely want to see him get that record and stand alone ahead of Alan Shearer because, you know what, anytime anyone takes a record off Alan Shearer, that's a good day. Tune into his podcast when he loses that one, hopefully. So that's Mo Salah with the goal. Left wing, I'm going Luis Diaz because we, again, shout out Richard Hughes, we did not secure that Anthony Gordon signing, so Luis Diaz, who, to be fair, I think there was a huge argument that this could have been Cody Gakpo to start after his performance in the Euros, and I would be fine with that, by the way. Again, Dutch connection, it could happen with Arne Slot, but I think you've got to give some credit to Luis Diaz for that Sevilla performance. You can't do much more than that to show that you want to start or to show that you're ready. So I think he deserves a chance here. As critical as I was of him last season, you know, I'm not a biased person. If the player's playing well, then I want him to start. It's as simple as that. And Luis Diaz, certainly in this moment, is playing well, so I'm going to start him on the left. Then that leaves us with our lone striker position. Where are we going to go with this one? I would love nothing more than to see Darwin Núñez start and bag a few goals, but he has had the least amount of minutes in pre-season when we look at the forwards. And so I think obviously Diogo Jota started in this position against Sevilla. I think that game is the biggest indication of where he's going to go for the first game of the season. So I'm going to go Diogo Jota, who again got himself a goal. It would be unfair to deny him a start, more than likely. So I think that's fair enough. Diogo Jota starts. Darwin Núñez on the bench, but I want to see some minutes for Núñez, absolutely, because I would like to see us build the team around Darwin Núñez this season and really try and get the most out of him. I think Slot's formation and the way he plays could really benefit Núñez, so we'll see, but you know, that remains to be seen as the season goes on. I think we start with Diogo Jota in this game. So that is our lineup right there. So let's talk about score predictions before we go. You can see down at the bottom, we've got the Opta stats there. Ipswich Town, 11% chance to win. A draw at 16%, and Liverpool clear ahead, 73% win percentage there. So it's completely dominant Liverpool. We're absolutely expecting a Liverpool win. But what's the score going to be? Well, Mo Salah has to get a goal, right? So there's a goal right there. And then we've got an informed Diogo Jota and an informed Luis Diaz. I'm going to give them a goal each. So there's 3. Huge atmosphere we're expecting here at Portman Road. Ibrahima Konate, not that many minutes in his legs. Ryan Gravenberch playing as a holding DM. You can see where I'm going with this. I'm going to give them 1. So is it going to be 3-1? Possibly. But you know what? Looking at those historic results, 5-0, 6-0, I'm going to give us a 4th. Maybe this is, you know, I just want to see a statement from Arne Slot. It would be nice to it'd be nice to go into the opening weekend there with a 4-1 win, and I'm being kind to Ipswich. I'm going to give them a goal. Hopefully this doesn't come back to bite me in the arse and it's a really tough game that gets dragged out and it's going to end 1-0 for someone. No one wants to see that, and Liverpool fans especially don't want to see that against Ipswich Town in the opening day. We want a big performance. We want a statement, especially after all the disappointment from Martin Zubimendi. So I am going Liverpool 4, Ipswich Town 1, and it'll be a nice opening day, sun's blazing, 12:30, everyone's going to be happy, and then we can sit back and watch everyone else. Liverpool 4, Ipswich 1. Let me know in the comments your score predictions. Let me know what you think about that team selection and what you'd maybe change. And as always, guys, thank you very much for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you want to stay up to date with everything going on Liverpool throughout the season. And as always, we will see you guys in the next video. Peace.